All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest, an absolute honor, all the way from Los Angeles, California, David Parnes. David, it's a thrill to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Greg, thank you so much for inviting me. I hope that I can give the insight per your introduction, and it's a real pleasure to be here. And I hope everyone's staying safe right now.
Yes, and I agree. And what a great time for everybody to, they're at home with their families and they're thinking about, what's happening around us, but take the time to really understand that there are things that we can do in a positive and move forward. And this is one thing that I absolutely love and appreciate is that true professionals like yourself take the time to share your knowledge so that everybody can grow and learn. So when this does pass, we can just hit the ground running and continue and grow and scale our real estate businesses. So without further ado, David, let's just jump into it if you're all right with that.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, fantastic. So let's just start, I guess, with the first question when it comes down to it is telling everybody just a little bit about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. This is a real British accent. I tend to say that joke quite a lot. I'm from London, born and raised, and I moved to LA about 11 years ago and pretty much kind of tested the waters as far as doing a spec house, which is a little bit bizarre since I didn't really know the market. It was in West Hollywood where I lived, and my sister and myself, we bought a duplex and we converted it into a single family house. We remodeled it, and James and I got our real estate licenses, and that became our first listing.
Wow. Unbelievable. And all the way. So on the other side of the pond, when you said England and going through and true, I have a fond place in my heart for England specifically. I lived there for a few years with my family. And so it's just interesting to see the dynamic. Why did you move in the first place? Why leave, London? It's so beautiful and come into the States and that sort of thing. What got you into the business? That whole story.
Well, Greg, I understand that my frame doesn't show the sky right now, but it's blue,
Yes.
blue.
Yes.
And the sun is shining and it is fantastic. And, the truth is that, I used to come to LA for vacation.
Okay.
And I think that speaks volumes because now I actually live where I used to vacation. And the reason I used to vacation here was because the weather's amazing, the lifestyle's amazing. Everything about Los Angeles for me, I love. I moved here 11 years ago and I never looked back. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Wow. Okay. And I think that does speak volumes, obviously, going into it. So why real estate, David? I mean, out of all the things that you could do with your life and your career paths, I mean, what got you into it and where you are to today? What's that background?
So I think, looking back, when I was in London, I originally obviously went to school, went to university, studied economics and politics. Well, when I say studied, I was kind of partying quite a lot, but I got out of university with a degree and it wasn't a bad one. So I don't know how I pulled it off, but somehow it just happened.
Wow, I love it.
Went to work for a hedge fund for free, actually, because my grades were okay, but they weren't really, at that level whereby, you're competing with these people from Oxbridge, Oxford, Cambridge, the very, very best as far as academia goes. And it was difficult to compete with those people. So I offered myself for free to work for a hedge fund as an intern for a couple of months. And I did that for free. And then a couple of months later, they gave me a job. It wasn't highly paid, but they gave me the job and I ended up being there for a year. Now, what was interesting about that was that I did not realize that I was witnessing the credit crisis in front of my very eyes happening.
Wow.
The type of company it was an investment management company that basically managed all of the asset-backed securities and the residential mortgage-backed securities, commercial mortgage-backed securities. These are basically the assets that are held in these complex structures, which I didn't even understand at that point. Right. But then I realized these structures were holding such toxic debt. And then ultimately, this is what caused the credit crisis. But right after that, I actually left there after a year and went to buy commercial real estate around Europe, in Germany, Poland, for a private investor. Wow. So we started doing that. And then the credit crisis hit. And then you realize, And for me, I was at a young age. I was like 24 years old when it started happening. That, my goodness, this is like a situation where banks are failing. Like when you see that, it's just, it was bizarre. So, I had a lot of problems to deal with at that point, deals that have gone wrong, keys going back to the bank, and, lawsuits. Everyone sues everyone when things go bad. And we won everything and we got through it. It took, a number of years, but I, in that process, moved to Los Angeles and started trading commodities, and just stayed focused to get back into real estate. And that's really where it stemmed from.
Okay. And that's a good background for everybody to understand, kind of the thought process and all that you've learned and grown from, and to become the top producer that you are today, and everything that you do, in the real estate world, which is absolutely top notch and phenomenal.
And it's a mindset, Greg. It's a mindset. Ultimately, the way I look at it is that you can be in any industry. Yes, I happen to be in real estate. That's the industry I happen to be in, and I love it, and I was attracted to it and drawn to it. But the truth is that I think there's a common theme for people that have been a success in their field, people who I looked up to and still look up to, being in real estate and being an agent in Los Angeles. And the truth is, it's like these people paved the way for us to be able to do what we do. But what they all hold in common is that they are never giving up. They have tenacity, drive, and they just don't give up on what they do. And going into real estate agency, it's a proven industry. Listen, we're not inventing the wheel, okay? We're going into something. So the way I looked at it is that if there are other people that are very successful in this field, in this industry, then there's no excuse. There's no reason why I can't do the same, unless I'm giving up or I'm not working hard enough. And I think that's all I needed to continue in this industry and to try and be one of the best, is that I'm not going to give up. It's a proven industry. And as long as I don't give up and I work very hard, I can be amongst the best. And I think that's my mindset. And I think that can be adapted to any industry.
Well said. I think that's inspired words out there for not just real estate, but as you said, any entrepreneurial or business profession. The best of the best, they put hard work consistently throughout their lives and really get there throughout that. And you're a perfect representation of that through and through. And again, breaking records.
I appreciate that. I wouldn't go that far, but thank you very much.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth.
You're being too nice.
It's the truth. Everybody who knows you and loves you, respects you. That's the truth all the way through and through. And again, you wouldn't be breaking the records and doing the volume and really building those relationships and that reputation if that wasn't the case. So I got to push you back on that a little bit, David. But I want to talk about this next period, because obviously, hitting the numbers and doing everything in real estate is fantastic. And I know that there's people that are tuning in that are really excited because they're big fans of yours on a different segment, which is real estate related, but it's on TV and Bravo television. So I did want to ask you a little bit about that, but I did want to make an announcement, that you guys do have your next season. This is season 12, which is incredible, $1 Million Listing Los Angeles. And that's May 5th. So stay tuned, everybody out there who's watching or listening. Support David. He's absolutely incredible. You'll get to experience more of him. But how did that process happen, David? How did you get on the show? How did things like that change and adjust? What was that like for you?
So the truth is that, firstly, I'm very, very grateful to have been in the position whereby, oh, sorry, James is actually calling me. I'm just going to text him saying, sorry, I can't talk right now. Let me see if that works. Okay, you there?
Yeah, it was great. It started cutting out. It just said your phone. No, you're good. We're here.
This is what happens, the phone typically rings. I'd be worrying if it wasn't ringing. That's the truth.
Well said.
But I apologize nonetheless. So I think, what happened was, with the show, it was very, very unexpected. One day James and I received a phone call from a casting company, and they were like, look, there's a vacancy opening up on $1 Million Listing Los Angeles. And frankly, I watched that show. I really, really enjoyed watching that show up until that point.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it changes everything. You see things from a different perspective. But honestly, the truth is, it was one of my favorite shows. So it kind of was weird, because within a week, we had a camera crew following us around for a week. So from literally nothing to having a camera crew, and bear in mind, we had only recently started our company at that point. So not only were we green and starting off, we had a camera crew following us. So it was kind of cool. And what we learned is that they'd done that with they'd interviewed hundreds of agents, and then they whittled it down to 10. They sent the camera crew out to the top 10. And thankfully we were one of those as a twosome, one of those top 10. And then we got a call a couple of months later saying, okay, let's start shooting. And literally, when I tell you this, we have not stopped shooting ever since, because I don't know if people realize this. One season on our show takes about a year, 11 months to a year to film.
Wow.
So think about it. If we're shooting for 11 months, give or take, then that season airs, and then a month later we're shooting for the following season. So we've been shooting now for 6-7 years, but it's been amazing. It's been an incredible experience, and it's really, really helped our business. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Wow, that's huge. And again, it's just so great to hear you talk about, how it's progressed and what it all takes all the way through and through. And there's so many pressures all around the real estate transaction and life in general. But I can only imagine having a film crew around you all the time and really just going through that's another level of pressure and stress, I would imagine.
But it was strange at the beginning, but honestly, you have these opportunities in life, and we got to take them. And this is a bizarre one. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
A lot of people fly to LA and move to Hollywood and Los Angeles because they want to be on TV. Well, in my case, I promise you, it was the last thing I was thinking. I was it was the opposite. And somehow I ended up on TV, and it is great and it's incredible, but it just shows life sometimes just works out in different ways. And when you get amazing opportunities, it's just really important to put that fear aside and just see, I always get into my head, this is just something about me. And I tell my movie is wrong every single time. Whenever I worry or I get anxious or stressed about something, it's very rarely ever comes to fruition. And in fact, sometimes it's the opposite. So certain days when I get up in the morning and I'm a little bit anxious, and I know what I got on the calendar, and for some reason I'm fearful or I'm anxious, anyone is, right?
Sure.
I just tell myself, you just got to go through it. And sometimes by the end of that day or by the end of that week, I look back on it and I think, thank God I did that. Thank God I didn't cancel that, or I showed up to that and I did what I was meant to do. And actually it was really great. And I think through that fear and anxiety, that's our time to grow. My time anyway. And looking back on any success and any experience, it's always been fear driven at the beginning, and then comes to fruition at the end. So that's my perspective.
No, and that's huge, though, David. I mean, more pearls of wisdom coming out of you, which is fantastic. And again, the takeaways and thought process, and there's a reoccurring message so far, the mindset and the thought process, and true professionals really just go with that. And there's no such thing as growth and comfort. And I think that the faster we get comfortable being uncomfortable, the better off we're going to be. And you're living proof.
That's it. And Greg, this ties into exactly the situation we're sitting in right now. There's a virus going around. It's killing people. It's infecting so many people, world leaders, royal family members.
Yeah.
It's very, very real. And as a result, we're quarantined, worldwide. And what's interesting is it's just another opportunity to reassess and figure how we can adapt and grow. And don't get me wrong, as far as reassess and re-strategize, it's temporary, because in my opinion, I'm very optimistic this is going to pass. The market will be stronger than ever, but it gives us this opportunity to not only appreciate how it was before and how great it's going to be in a few months' time, but also to spend time with our family. My 2-year-old that's just starting to talk, and being able to spend that quality time with her and look at the sky, and there's no smog, and nature is really thriving right now. And it's just these beautiful moments and advantages and real benefits through all what could be perceived as negativity. And again, it's a perception. It's about the way we perceive things.
I love that. And I think that there needs to be more and more positivity out there in the world. There is a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of bad things that are happening, and we're not discounting that, but you're thinking, hey, how can we look at the silver lining, and what can we really reflect on personally, professionally, and as a community, as a country, and then as a world, right? As humanity. So I just think that that's a well way to look at it. And again, that's that positive mindset and thought process, because there's so many people that are not in great headspace right now, and understood. But again, just keep forging and really focus on the things that are truly important to us. And sometimes these things happen to kind of force us to really reevaluate all those things. And no one wishes ill on anybody, but we got to take the situation as it is and keep pushing forward in a positive. Now, with that being said, though, David, I want to dive a little bit deeper into you as a person and as a man. And this next question, is actually a really, really great one to do that. And it's the what's your why question, and what really motivates you, excites you every day, gets you out of bed every morning to do what you do to the level that you do it at.
So I think, a lot of it is, when you commit, in my case, I've committed, and I'm talking about professional level and then, a personal family level, but
Sure.
on a professional level, I've committed, I've set goals, and I've committed to a profession, for better use of the term.
Right.
And if I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to want to provide for my family, and I think I owe it to myself and to my family to at least try and be the best I can in that field that I've chosen to be in. And in this case, again, it's real estate. Now, there is a fine line, ultimately, Greg, between letting it consume you, and that will be at the detriment of the work-family balance, because that's it at the end of the day. You've got your work, you've got your family. So for me, I want to be the best at what I do, and I'm working to be the best at what I do. But at the same time, I'm very aware that I don't want that to come at the expense of neglecting my family, or not being a good dad, not being a good husband, brother, son. So for me, the biggest challenge is really that balance. And it's a given that I want to be the best in what I do, but
Sure.
I don't want, being the best in real estate to come at the expense of being the best in the family, or vice versa. So again, it's the balance, and I'm trying to maintain that balance. And let me tell you something, that's my biggest struggle.
Sure. And I think that the best of the best, that's what anybody across the board is. Anybody who has goals and is really aspiring to hit those boundaries and exceed those. I mean, there's sacrifice going around. However, as long as you stay conscious of that, and really what the ultimate goal is to hit certain things, but be focused on your family. And as you said, what are the priorities, and putting perspective on that, I think that you're better off. You have a better opportunity at having that balance. But for somebody who just solely focuses on the goal, when it comes to career, a lot of things fall by the wayside. It's not just relationships. It could be spirituality. It could be your health. There's so many things that are sacrificed that way, but really trying to put that in perspective, I think, is great. And it tells everybody a lot about your why, right? Because at the end of the day, there's always more production to be done. There's more, families that can be helped. But at the end of the day, we really should be focusing on ours. And if we can't get ours right, and we can't really influence that, then as far as I'm concerned, the rest of it is for naught.
I couldn't agree more. Like that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And look, there's always going to be more deals to be done. There's always going to be, other days that we can, put more hours into work. But I think, again, we don't want to shortchange ourselves. We want to make sure that we are, we're delivering on all fronts. And again, I couldn't agree with more with everything you said. I think it's spot on, Greg.
Yeah, no, this is great, David. Okay, so again, getting deeper windows into you, which I think is phenomenal and fantastic. Let's go into the one of the crowd pleasers in this particular series. They always want to learn from the Titans, very specifically on how they grow and scale their business. So, David, I'll ask you it this way: if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things you added to your business that you really saw it grow and scale from that point, what's that look like for you?
So I think for me personally, and it goes back to, the first listing, and that was a spec house that I built with my sister, and, and the interior designer was actually James's mum, my business partner. But the way I look at it is from that, I ended up buying another house and building, and I've been building ever since. And it's given me a decent knowledge of construction. And what that's enabled me to do is work with developers and actually speak their language, so that I'm either JVing right now and building houses with clients, or coming on to consult with them while they're building, in order, and obviously get the listing as a result of that.
Sure.
So I think for me, that knowledge and that experience of knowing how to build houses and being involved in the construction process has been hugely rewarding and hugely, I suppose, a huge contributor to my and James's listing portfolio right now,
Okay.
which is big, and at the same time, it's given me the confidence to be able to speak to clients from more of a knowledgeable standpoint, and they appreciate it. It's just really, really worked.
Love that.
Oh gosh, sorry, one sec. My phone is blowing up.
You're totally good. It just went on there again. I'll address everybody out there and just kind of rebuttal of what you're talking about. I think that, you know, what inspires me through that thought process is you're being a true practitioner, David, and you're looking at it from the ground up, is understanding the full aspects of your profession and everything around it, so that you can truly have those conversations in depth with those developers, with those investors, anybody that you're talking about on the real estate side, and get things done to a higher standard. Not every real estate professional that's out there can say that they do that by any means. And it's just fantastic that you're representing a true practitioner in your
I
field.
appreciate that. The only thing is I can't get the screen back up. Oh, here we go. Zoom. Let me see. Okay. We're back on again.
Okay,
I apologize for that.
You're totally good.
There we have it. Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize for that. See, again, my phone's blowing up and I just have to see if it was an absolute emergency, but no, all is good.
Okay. No, you're totally good, David. And again, I love that fact that you had mentioned that. I think that the message for everybody out there who's watching or listening is really just dive deep into your craft, understand it, and be better than everybody else in that way of just constantly learning and growing. And I love the fact that you do that and have done that for such a long time. And again, building your portfolio through true hard work, you know, is there. There's no elevator to, you know, the top, right? You got to take the stairs. And
you've got to take the stairs. You've got to take the stairs. There's no shortcuts. And let me tell you something. If there were shortcuts and they were taken, in my opinion, it's going to go down as quick as it went up, which is another thing as well. It's about, you know, the certain values as far as business goes. And I have my own personal values. I treat my clients as though I would treat myself. And I know that sounds cheesy, but the truth is that if I'm asked, and if I'm asked my opinion, I'm going to give my honest opinion to a client as though I was giving it to myself. And, you know, this is a long game. And ultimately, you know, it's reputation. It's about ethics. It's about not taking a shortcut. It's about drive, work, being honest, being ethical, treating your clients as though, you know, you would treat your family the same way. Right. And I think that is the strongest foundation. And obviously the foundation that feels the best as well, to grow a business in. And being in a sales industry, right?
Sure.
That's not really the norm, but I do feel that it doesn't have to be the other way just because you're in a sales industry. I think that absolutely one can be successful, and probably more successful and longer term by doing the right thing and behaving correctly and ethically.
I love it. And again, these are huge nuggets of takeaways for producers all over the world to really understand the fundamentals and really continually push the envelope of what that true expectation of a real estate professional is. And not everybody's created equal. And I think that a lot of that has to do with that mindset, that work ethic. And again, when it comes down to it, just morals and ethics into your business itself, treating people the way that you want to be treated. As you said, you and your family, I mean, that golden rule sort of scenario. I wish it was common practice, but it's just not.
Well, Greg, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Look, life is very complicated in itself. Things happen every day, like, you know, what we're going through right now. And you know, by taking these shortcuts and telling lies and being unethical, all we're doing is we're just complicating our lives even more. I mean, life is going to be complicated. It will catch up with you in the long run. Right. You know, if you screw someone over, if you're dishonest, it does every single time. And it's just so short-minded, and it doesn't feel good either. So I think that, you know, I'm a very much an advocate of just be honest and just, you know, even if it's difficult to give a client bad news, but it's the truth. Right. You've got to do it, because in the longer term, they're going to respect you more as a result of it. And that also goes for overpriced listings, by the way. You know,
well said.
There's a lot of agents out there that you know, want to buy listings, and they'll just, you know, tell their client that their property is worth much more than it is in order to secure the listing, but that doesn't really do their client a service. No. And sometimes if one is honest and just says, look, you know, that guy may have said that he'll list your house for whatever it is, 35 million. I'm telling you it's worth 20. You know, we can have this conversation again in 2 months' time or 3 months' time when the property hasn't sold. But I'm going to be honest with you, and 9 times out of 10, if they really believe what you're saying, and there's no reason not to because you're being honest, they're actually going to go with you anyway, because you're the one that's telling them the truth. And again, you know, it's not what my gut or anyone's gut feels that they want to hear, that their property is not worth what they think it is. But if it's the truth and it's the facts, it's our duty to relay those facts, and it always works out correct.
I can't thank you enough for showing that true character and integrity, because that's what that is. That's integrity, that's character. That's the way that it needs to be done. And again, setting that example for so many real estate professionals who are watching or listening to this, listen to David, listen to what this man is saying. This is honest truth. And this is the way you should conduct yourself every day, all day when it comes down to it. So I do want to shift gears on this one. And this actually gets tricky in this particular series. It's the challenge question. Now, David, I'll lead into it this way. Everybody has challenges or struggles in their lives, and no one's exempt. Now, whether it's a personal challenge or a professional challenge, it's not so much what happens, but what we learn and how we can respond and share that I think really, truly matters. And not downplaying pain or sorrow. And again, we're all dealing with a lot of stuff that's happening right now. But if you're comfortable sharing a challenge personally or professionally that you overcame, became stronger because of it, what's that look like for you, David?
See, I think there's a number of challenges that happen every day. And then there's certain bigger challenges that typically happen earlier on in a career, whereby you've got to overcome that fear. And the truth is, it's like, even I've actually been historically quite shy and a little bit awkward still, but that's fine. I kind of, quirkiness of personalities, but I was never naturally a salesperson. So, when I went to do my first sales job, which was actually during my school holidays, vacation, and I went to work for an advertising company selling advertising space over the phone, I was terrible. I was so bad. I was like the worst of the worst of the worst. They're expecting me to be really good because my brother was like a natural sales guy, my older brother, and he was like the legend there. And I showed up and they were like, baby Parnes, you're going to be incredible. I was so bad. But what I did is I just kept it. It goes back to not giving up. I didn't think it was a talent within me like it was with maybe my brother or other people out there. But for me, it was just about, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to give up. And I look back on myself back then, and I actually think like that was pretty good because I had no track record. I'd never experienced any success. I hadn't even closed a deal. And I just went through that, just not giving up. And eventually I just hit a wave. And once you hit that wave, you're closing deals, but then all the other deals that weren't closing before suddenly start closing as well. It's a pipeline. So the harder the times get, and the more we doubt ourselves, or the more I've doubted myself historically, is the best opportunity, in my opinion, to really just go for it, never give up, because that's when, as a salesperson, we're building up our pipeline. We're absolutely building up our pipeline when things are terrible. And the most important thing, again, is when they do get good, because they will. As long as you stick to the formula, it's going to get good. Right. You've got to maintain that pipeline even then. So you got to keep going and going and going. It's all very easy to take your foot off the gas and think, I just closed this deal and that deal and this deal. And things are great. But the moment we take our foot off the gas, it will start to dry up and we'll feel it a couple of months later. So it's just be consistent, consistency, never giving up, and just having that work ethic and having that belief, because again, we're in a proven industry. You will, I will, everyone will be successful as long as we stick to the formula. And it's never giving up, being ethical, and just keep going.
Wow. I mean, David, that's huge, and so many different takeaways inside there again, and especially into this time frame where so many people are feeling, should I be, holding back? Should I put pause? And to me, as you're saying, and so many professionals that I love and respect as well, it's not pause, it's pivot. It's continually moving forward and not just sitting back, as you stated. And that's constant, never stopping, no matter what market trends are happening or how good or bad, business ends up being. I mean, you're doing it for the right reasons, the right way, and you're consistent. It's just massive amounts of consistency gets it there. And I love that you had mentioned that. Coming from a true professional, so many people, this is going to ring into a lot of people's ears, especially right now, because there's a certain segment of the market, especially, real estate professionals they're concerned. Hey, I'm going to contract. I'm going to slow this down. I'm going to pause this. But the true pros, they're not. They're moving forward. They're understanding. They're showing respect and safety and everything that's happening, but they really continue down that path of success. And that's, again, continual mindset and work ethic and drive, support around you. I love everything that you're saying. It's just spot on.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And again, we're going through a strange time right now, but it's going to pass.
Sure.
This is, again, a great opportunity to reassess, reevaluate, be creative in the short term, but then, when it passes, just be ready to rock and roll and be grateful, obviously, of what we've had before and just see, you know, how difficult it can become. But then once you get through it, it's that much sweeter at the end.
Love it. Okay. And I think that this is really, really great stuff. And again, thanks for sharing. It's not easy to do and air those thought processes out, but I want to shift gears to a slightly softer question. And this one that actually ended up being one of my favorites. It's the travel back in time question. So David, if you could travel back in time, any time frame, any age range of your life, and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young David?
That's a good one. I'd probably say, just don't take shortcuts. You know, be good and honest and never give up. And you will become a success in anything you do. Wow. But at the same time, just maintain balance. You know, don't let anything, you know, define you as an entity, as a whole person. You've always got to realize that, you know, there's going to be a work-life balance. And, you know, however many deals you close or however much money you make, it's not going to mean very much if you haven't been a good family member. Right. And I'd probably say that. I'd say, look, the success will come if you stick to the formula, but just remember to keep the balance.
Wow. Okay. And I'd love that question in particular. And again, that's great advice, not just for young David, myself, and everybody included who's watching or listening to this. It's stuff that we can't go back. And a lot of times we wouldn't want to change anything at all, because what we came through and what we've experienced, positive or negative, made us who we are today. But that advice rings through to everybody right now. Right. And if we're not doing those things, we're not living our life that way, if we're not focusing on the balance and everything you had mentioned, what are we doing? Right. I mean, let's just really evaluate that and make sure. So you can't change the past, but you can change what you're doing today, and you can affect the future. And that mentality and that advice is great. I mean, that's why I love that question. At the end of the day,
great question.
That's great stuff all the way through. So we only got a couple left, and this is actually one of the crowd pleasers into it, because again, everybody wants to learn from the Titans and how they're growing their minds. So this is the feeding of the mind question. So I'll lead into it this way. I mean, David, books you're reading or have read that inspire you, podcasts you're listening to, influencers or coaches on social media, if it's, you know, conferences, conversations. I mean, how are you feeding your mind?
I think I have a bit of an obsession with knowing the history behind every single sale in the areas in which I work.
Interesting.
And I think because information is key, that's what it comes down to. You know, if you know as much as possible about what you're doing, then the chances are that you're going to convey that with confidence and honesty. So I kind of do obsess a little bit, and I kind of do really focus on all of the sales in my market and try and stay on top of everything and every detail. But, you know, on a more general level, I think it's just a matter of learning how to switch off sometimes.
Okay.
Trying to put my phone down, and just trying to be present. And there's a lot of meditation books out there, and speakers as well that are great at getting that point across. Probably one of the most difficult things to do as far as I'm concerned, but you know, sometimes being present is so valuable, because if we're not present, then we're not really living, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's a harsh reality that so many of us deal with, especially when it's just constantly go, 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 move, 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 goal, and keep setting that. Is we do kind of forget that the present, right, is a gift. And I think
it really is.
I think that we all, you know, kind of go through that in our life balance and thought process. And, you know, you talked about your family, and before we went live, you know, I was speaking about mine, and it's just, I think it's the most incredible thing, and it goes by in the blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye.
So I love that. And being able to have those boundaries and set the phone down and really set those expectations, and learning from other people inside that. There's so many meditation and things process that you can really do and accomplish, but you just got to find your groove. You got to find what works for you. What works for you or for me might not work for someone else. So,
totally.
But you got to really want it and implement that. And I love that. I mean, you're pulling it from different sources, and I love the fact that you really are diving deep and showing that obsession for the information, though, because those are the real winners. Constantly learning and growing. That's how you're setting those expectations and standards. And you show up to the table and have a conversation that the other person can't. because
I
you
don't want to sit there and, excuse my language, but I don't want to sit there and bullshit, for better use of the term. You know,
right.
I want to be able to say the facts, and the only way you can say the facts is if you know them. So yeah, totally.
Love it. Huge advice, huge examples. And again, David, this has been a true honor, an amazing,
Likewise, my man.
incredible time frame. I got one more question to wrap everything up for everybody out there, but this ends up being a quote or mantra that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for David Parnes?
I mean, without sounding cheesy and I suppose repetitive, I'd probably say never give up, and be the best person you can be, you know? So I think that should probably encompass family and work. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that rings through and through. And I think that's a beautiful example all the way. And
by the way, easier said than done, don't get me wrong, but you know, if you don't have something to work for or towards, then, you know, would be lacking direction. So yeah, I'd say that.
Love it, my friend. And again, it's been a true honor and a blessing to have you on the show and sharing your story with everybody out there. I know that you're affecting so many people's lives in the real estate world and communities. So thanks again, my friend. It's an absolute
Thank you, Greg.
You are an official real estate titan, I have to tell you. So you're it's there, it's done. But everybody out there, thank you as well for your time and attention, your love and support.
Thank you, guys.
It's a true honor to have amazing real estate professionals on here sharing their stories. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan in a different location. I do want to give our shout out to our sponsor, Lionbolt Media. If you're looking to grow and scale your business digitally with the best of the best in real estate, check out lionboltmedia.com. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. See you, David. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg.